Levi in Colorado.
Levi, let's talk to Levi.
Yeah, what's that about?
Let's do it.
Levi, you're on with Kenneth and Johnny. I'm seeing that you believe that there is a growing othering happening and wondering if religion is playing a role in that. You're on Talk Heathen. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking there.
Well, hi, Johnny and Kenneth. Thank you for taking my call. It's a first-time caller, so
good to have you.
So basically what I think is happening is there's almost a cult of vaccinated people that's growing. And what's happening is there's shunning and othering happening for people who are vax hesitant or unable to get the vaccine. And I find it to be overall damaging when I hear people, and it's happening a lot in the atheist community, when I hear them say, we will only hang out with vaccinated people, because the science doesn't support that. The truth of the matter is unvaccinated people don't pose much of a risk if you're fully vaccinated to you, but you are putting a huge social barrier in place by refusing to hang out with people who are vax hesitant.
I'm gonna take this one, Kenneth. Right start. Let's say, and I'm not saying you are, Levi, but let's say that you're not vaccinated, and you hang out with me, and I am, and you are not completely immune from contracting the virus. It could happen. Engaging in social environment, like a busy social environment with lots of, let's say, mask on, mask off situations, drinking from your tea or whatever it might be, or your beer, there's still a possibility of contracting the virus. And although you might accept that, you might accept the risk because you believe that the risk is minimal or negligible or acceptable to you. I'm not going to accept that because I am not being, I'm not telling you what you can do, but I'm not going to be responsible for you infecting someone else. I'm not going to do it. You can choose to do whatever you want, but I'm not going to do it. And I think that's a free expression. It's a choice. And I don't want there to be an othering to the extent that there's hate or derision or disrespect, because I think there's a lot of information. I think some of that information has been confusing in the news. If you're not an expert, if you don't study this, if you're getting your news from sources that are analyzing analyses, which are the product of more analyses, and you get pretty far down that pipeline, and pretty much it's just opinion after a certain point when you don't go to the root sources of the info. But I'm just not going to. I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to hate you for it, but I'm not going to hang out with you because I don't want to be a part of that problem. Does that answer
medical autonomy, though?
Do I believe in medical autonomy? Do you mean like that each person has the right
to? Yes, like it's somebody else's private medical information. For example, like if a person with a uterus gets an abortion, do you believe that you have a right to know why that person got an abortion? Or is it just their personal private information?
No, I don't think I do. I don't think I have a right to know.
There are plenty of people who, excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't need to talk over you.
No, there's a delay. It's okay. It's okay, Levi. Continue. What were you saying?
So to me, I see this bit of information as the same as any other medical information. It's private, right? So if you ask somebody if they're vaccinated or not, and let's say they're comfortable sharing with you that they're not, and then you say, oh, well, I can't hang out with you, but they have a medical preclusion that keeps them from getting vaccinated, that's none of your business why they're not vaccinated. And it could be as simple as I just don't trust it yet, or it could be an actual immunodeficiency that they cannot get a vaccine for, that they can't have the vaccination. So that leads into prying into other people's medical information that's a level of something that I'm not comfortable with. And overall, I find that my influence, if I'm a vaccinated person, would be much more influential to hang out with non-vaccinated people and convincing them if they're vaccine hesitant than putting a social barrier in place and trying to tell them, hey, I'm trying to keep you from infecting a whole bunch of other people. The fact is this thing is mutating and vaccinated people can still catch it and transmit it themselves as well. So we're all taking a risk of some sort. Obviously, there's an increased risk if you're not vaccinated. And we need everybody to get vaccinated. We absolutely do, because we need to slow down the transmission and the mutation. So I'm not arguing against that. My concern is that we're creating social barriers by the way that you're approaching it, by saying, well, I'm not going to hang out with you because if you're not vaccinated, then you could be causing harm to others. Well, you don't know why I'm not vaccinated, or you don't know why that person isn't vaccinated, and you don't have a right to that information either. So it kind of leads down this rabbit trail, I think, of what I see is emerging is that kind of doxing of medical privacy, excuse me, and then also robbing us of an opportunity to educate people who are vaccine hesitant.
Well, this is a really interesting question, because first of all, privacy is not an absolute right for anybody. There are absolutely situations where we recognize that it is beneficial ethically and socially for someone's privacy rights to be violated. I agree. Leaving that aside, the question, the example of abortion was interesting to me, because whether or not somebody gets an abortion has nothing to do with anybody else's, well-being. It's not like abortions are contagious, and so to me, there's a problem with that in terms of analogy. So to the extent that individual people and their choice to get a vaccine or not can affect the well-being of other people, I think that it might be okay to ask about it. And I'm gonna put one more thing on the table, and I do want to hear your response. I am fully in favor of creating certain social barriers. So I want to hang out with people, broadly speaking, whose values are consistent with mine. So if somebody, has a medical reason for not being able to get vaccinated, that's not in any way a barrier to spending time with that person. I wouldn't want there to be any social boundaries there at all. But if somebody is...
They don't have any obligation to disclose the reason why they're not vaccinated to you.
They do if they want to hang out with me.
And I feel like you're putting a social barrier there that precludes you from being able to then influence somebody who might just be vax hesitant versus somebody who's not able to be vaccinated.
Maybe. But if somebody is, and I know people who are like this, who just reject science, or who think that doing quote unquote research while sitting on the toilet on their phone on Facebook is, the same as people doing research in a laboratory. I don't want to hang out with those people. I don't want to hang out with people who are.
But the science indicates that an unvaccinated person, if you are fully vaccinated, poses very little risk to you. And overall, our mission now needs to be...
But that's not what I'm talking about.
Which requires us... Okay, I apologize, then. Continue your thought.
Yeah, so whether or not that person poses an immediate risk to me, I'm vaccinated, is not the issue. The issue to me is that I think there essentially should be social costs associated with the rejection of science, or people who just flat out don't want to get a vaccine because they think that they're asserting some sort of right to freedom. Okay. In the same way that, like, if somebody was a racist or like transphobic or something, I don't want to hang out with you. There's a barrier there. And if you want to be a transphobe, knock yourself out. Go be a shitty person. But I don't have to be around it.
I'm a trans man, so I'm not much of a transphobe.
I
understand.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I understand the argument that's like, well, by not hanging out with that person, I can't then make an argument to them to compel them to be a better person or to think more critically about the world. And that's fine. I mean, I'm here on the internet talking to strangers, trying to, promote skepticism, but in my own life, I don't want to hang out with people who hold certain like views that I would think of as being reprehensible.
Can I chime in? I get it. There is a matter of medical privacy in this, but kind of all of our medical state is very relevant. It's very relevant at this point to the well-being of society and getting back to where we need to be. I actually don't need to know exactly what might prevent somebody from taking the vaccine, from getting the vaccine. I think for me, I just need to know that it's not just some cockamamie, I looked it up on the internet, or I like to tinker with my own medication and I think that I don't need it. If I get, and again, it comes down to trust, because I'm not going to ask for their medical records to see them. There's a social contract that you're going to tell the truth. And if I feel that the person isn't telling the truth, they've broken the social contract, and I don't want to be social with them. But I'm not going to be a big jerk about it. I hope not.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, and I'm going to say you, Levi. I'm not going to say you, but like, Levi, I'm sorry. Like, you're not vaccinated. You have your reasons. I'm just going to have to, wait until we got herd immunity, or you get the vaccine, or it's no longer considered a risk. And I wish you the best. And let's stay in touch on the phone. Let's meet up in Zoom. Let's meet in the park at 50 paces and do that. But I'm not going to get next to you. And it's not that I think you're gross or anything. It's that I have to think a little bigger than just your feelings and my feelings, just for a little while longer. Actually, for the rest of my life, technically, I have to be considering society.
Well,
so
I agree with that. I think that at the rate this thing mutates, and unfortunately vaccinated people can still catch and transmit it, and it could possibly still mutate within a vaccinated person and be transmitted to another vaccinated person. There's infinite ways that this virus has changed our society forever and ever. But one of the ways that I just really am disappointed in is how it's creating just this, just the fact that we have to have this conversation. I find that to be much more damaging overall. And I'm not claiming that the virus hasn't been damaging. I mean, 500,000 people dead is truly tragic. The biggest tragedy of my lifetime. But the other millions of people who have been suffering from depression, from being locked in their homes, fiscally destroyed, all of these things, and we're able to emerge now. And the science is indicating that unvaccinated people pose mostly a risk to themselves.
I'll tell you what, Levi, you keep going. Levi, I'm gonna pause you there. Please just let me say this. I get you. And I think the main tone here is everyone out there, if you think you're right, stop being a dick about it.
Really?
Just be compassionate. Here. This is a little bit of the Kenneth and Johnny attitude towards the show. Fucking stop being a dick. Be nice. Listen, be compassionate, but you can be firm about it. You can still say there's a line in this. There's a line, Donnie. There's a line, and we're not going to cross that line, right? But hugs and kisses from far away.
With my sort of advocacy for certain social pressures, I would agree wholeheartedly with Johnny. Like there's no need to be an asshole about it, but I do think that social pressure can be very, very useful for moving us closer to a society that we all want to live in. Was all I was trying to say.
Well, yes, of course, and we operate like that as a species, anyways, because we're social species.
Can't help it.
What I'm concerned about is the trend towards the cult-like behavior modification of, we're going to try and manipulate you into getting this vaccine, which makes you really uncomfortable, and you have probably some good reasons why you are uncomfortable with it. But instead of investing in you personally, we're going to try and do it over the internet and call you
Levi, you say manipulating, and I think we reached a point of harmony, and I think we're starting to part. So let's just stop at this point.
Oh, well, I was talking about other people on the internet, like what you said about not being a dick. I'm in full agreement with you on all of that. Okay. I just think that it needs to be a personal approach and less of a mob mentality.
Yes, less of a mob mentality, a community spirit, but a community spirit informed by, in personal information and educating yourself. Levi, thank you so much for calling. Look forward to the world getting back to normal, and I hope that everyone who can get the vaccine gets it to protect those who cannot, and that those who have it aren't acting like a bunch of drongos
for sure
to others. Okay, so talk to you again sometime. Kenneth, have you run into any of that in your personal life? Have you?
I had a friend who had a baby recently, and she's one of those people who is of the opinion that the vaccine's a big hoax. And when she had delivered her baby, and the nurses wanted to give her a rapid COVID test before bringing the baby in for her to hold, and she wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. On principle, she's going, no, I'm not going to do this. And I mean, the extent to which people are confused about the vaccine, about science more generally, is extremely frustrating. So I kind of don't blame them. I think that our educational system has failed these people. But I agree with you that we don't need to be dicks about it.
Yeah,
firm, but not dicks.
Firm. Yes, let's leave it there.
I got you. Yeah,
let's leave it there.